Hello my friends, today we have lots of the news, most of them are quite positive. Let's go for the Bakhmut city. There is no any change today for the front line, but somehow the Wagner army and Prigozhin himself decided to leave that city on 10th of May. So if you are already on my Telegram channel, you saw this video. I translated it into the English and put on subtitles. And let's watch the part of the video.
У нас нехватка боеприпасов 70%. Шойгу! Герасимов! Где боеприпасы?
This is the small part of his speech, and behind him he got many of the dead bodies of the Wagner soldiers, and he blames Shoigu and Gerasimov for not giving the proper amount of the ammunitions, and that is why they have severe losses. And it's not the stage operation, my friends. Really, there is the conflict between the regular Russian army command and the private army Wagner. It's basically not profitable for Russia to push this into the public. And with this harsh address towards Gerasimov and Shoigu, Prigozhin burned all of the bridges, and there will be only one. The Russian military command or Prigozhin. Someone have to resign or vanish. I think that will be Prigozhin. He will vanish in the future because simply he has less resources compared to the regular Russian army. Today Prigozhin recorded two more videos, one with his people behind saying that they will withdraw the forces from the Bakhmut city on 10th of May, right after the celebration of the Great Patriotic War victory. So he signed a special paper and he will send it to Shoigu, and he needs to sign it to withdraw the forces of the Wagner because they still under the command of the regular Russian army, even though they are the private arm. But I think that the signature is not that important for Prigozhin, and finally on the 10th of May they may leave their positions. It doesn't mean that Russians will go and transfer the city to Ukrainian forces. No, there will be the regular Russian army forces that will go to the Wagner positions, and then Wagners will leave. Right after it, some of the Ukrainian officials and experts start to say that Wagner will not withdraw their forces. But for me, I think if he said that he will withdraw, he will withdraw. Because Prigozhin is not living according to the normal laws. He is the ex-prisoner and he got prisoners around him, so they have their own statute. Their own list of moral behavior. Yes, they are out of the morale, but in their circle, if he says to do something, he needs to do it. Otherwise, those guys around will think that he's a weak person. The same partially applies for Vladimir Putin. So actually, I do expect that Wagner forces would withdraw from that city, but will be replaced by other forces, for example, Ahmad Battalion of Kadyrovites. Kadyrov today said that he respects Prigozhin and he will send his own forces to replace the Wagner army. And the third video that he recorded was about the General Mizintsev that was dismissed in the Russian army. Prigozhin said that Mizintsev was working to increase the supplies for the Wagner army. And later on Mizintsev was taken into the Wagner army. Also Prigozhin said and blamed Shoigu and Gerasimov again for all of those deaths that happened inside the Wagner army. Because of the lack of the artillery shells, ammunition and other supplies, Wagner has tremendous losses. For now, according to Prigozhin's calculation, it's around 60% from the original Wagner army. Well, as for me, I think this whole story with all of those videos is just a big PR campaign of Prigozhin. He wants to get the power and he understands that soon Ukrainian army will go on a counterattack, and he doesn't want to share the defeat of the Russian army. Maybe it's not gonna be in Bakhmut but on the south part of Ukraine, but he wants to step aside to not be associated with the huge defeat of the Russian army. The second reason why he wants to get out from the Bakhmut is not the lack in artillery shells, but it's the lack of people basically. With the current human resources they have, they are unable to take the city and secure it. Maybe they will push Ukrainian forces out for some time, but in the future Ukraine will get the Bakhmut under control, so they're unable to dig down to the ground with all of those people that left. About the lack of resources like artillery shells, it's the clear speculation from Prigozhin, because the regular Russian army also doesn't have enough supplies. I know this information from the Russian military bloggers. They also monitor the situation and they also complain, for example, in Avdiivka, Vuhledar, in Zaporizhia and other parts. It is just the standard attitude of the Russian military command towards their own soldiers. They do not care about their lives. For those generals and personally for Prigozhin also, those are the meatballs that can fire. Prigozhin complained about lots of the losses, but he continued to send the soldiers knowing that they're in lack of the shells. And they were constantly on the straightforward attacks on the most defended positions. But he created his own PR campaign and it works well for the Russian viewer. I see from the Russian publics that the majority of the Russian Z patriots do support Prigozhin. And this situation actually plays well in favor of Ukraine. It is very profitable for us then the Russian clans are fighting between each other. Good old movie, The Fifth Element. I said it a long time ago when Prigozhin started to recruit the prisoners into his army that there should be the monopoly of the force in every country. There should be the single command and all of the generals should follow the same principle. But here Russia has the outrageous Prigozhin, the ex-prisoner, who wanted to command the generals. Obviously, Russian generals do not like that stuff and they want to get rid of Prigozhin. So can potentially Prigozhin turn his army against the regular Russian army? Yes, he can, but still the probability is quite low at this stage, but we're gonna see the future events and maybe there will be that civil war inside the Russian Federation. At least I think that it can be. As you can see, there are lots of the interesting stuff started happening inside the Russian Federation. The attack on the Kremlin, the attack on the oil storages, cutting the supplies for the fuel for the Russian ships, and not only, also the outrageous Wagner army. So I have this feeling inside that we are at the edge of the important events that will happen very soon. The press secretary of Putin, Peskov, already commented the Prigozhin's video. He said that they will not comment on that issue because it touches the special military operation. Today, Russia announced the massive evacuation of the civilians from this area, the vast part of the Zaporizhia and Kherson Oblast. We have also some video confirmation from the occupied territories that they sent lots of the buses and they expect to evacuate around 70,000 people. And the Russian opposition resources start to draw the maps of the future Ukrainian counterattack that could be towards the Melitopol. They've drawn this map based on the information coming from the villages and towns that were evacuated or where evacuation was started today. And they are so scared about it that their officials announced that Ukraine is ready for the counterattack in nearby days or even hours. For Ukrainians, it's very important to spread the panic inside the Russian army. So when this counterattack starts, they will run as usual. And there are so many versions of the Ukrainian counterattack coming from the Russian side. Today they stated that Ukraine started the counterattack on the Bryansk region on the north. But that information was dismissed as the fake one. Russians have many military experts on their media and they constantly say every direction, they point at every point of the front lines. Well, personally for me, this is the preferable direction. It could be like that, but it could be the other way. The head of the Mykolaiv region, Vitaly Kim, today said to all of the Ukrainian citizens who live in Mykolaiv and Mykolaiv Oblast not to film the movement of the Ukrainian forces. It means that we are moving our forces closer to the south. And I also cannot say a lot about this preparation, but from my own channels I may confirm that there is the final preparation for the future counterattack. Where and when it will be, I don't know honestly. And if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. But anyways, you'll see it very soon, and obviously we're gonna review the updates of the military map with our forces moving forward as it was in Kharkiv region or Kherson. I'm sure that the Ukrainian counterattack will be successful, because from what I see after all of those scandals inside the Russian army, and all of the information we got about their supplies, I think we're gonna win this war after all, and we'll start with the small wins very soon. While I was recording this video, we got not a good news from the Bakhmut city. Wagner's decided to fire the phosphorus shells or special fire shells, and it's very hard for our soldiers to resist in this only district that we're still capable to hold. Wagner's decided to throw everything they have, including those shells that are forbidden. Yesterday I showed you the Krasnodar oil reservoir that was attacked by the drone. Well, today the one more fire was spotted on that facility. Was it the remaining of the old fire or was it the new drone? We're out of the information. The Defense Express publishes the analysis of some photos coming from Ukraine, and they stated that Ukraine had shut down the Russian hypersonic Kinjal missile that is usually launched from the MiG-31. It could be the first successful case of interception of the hypersonic rocket, because basically this rocket is hypersonic on the paper. It runs very fast, but then it's coming closer to the target, it reduces the airspeed, and it became almost the standard ballistic rocket, but the fast ballistic rocket. At first, the Ukrainian Air Force Command denied that they've shut down the Kinjal missile, but later on said no comments. Also, news for the ammunition supplies: will have more artillery shells from United States together with Australia. Plus, Germany will increase the production of the 155 caliber shells to Ukrainian army, so totally from all of our allies will get more than 2 million artillery shells. That's great. Russia finally launched the railroad connections via the Kerch bridge, but you know what? They haven't replaced the damaged part of the bridge. They've just put some new rails and reinforced the construction with lots of the welding. By the way, today Russia started to collect the food supplies in Crimea and also water supplies in case Peninsula would be disconnected from the main land. About the Leopard 1 tanks, we're gonna receive them in June from Denmark in cooperation with Germany. Also, there were some other countries that will provide the Leopard 1 tanks to Ukraine. One of the Russian commanders, Andrei Kartapov, today said that owners of the important objects should independently provide protection against the drone attacks. He speaks about the oil reservoirs and other facilities. Very strange. So the facilities are very crucial for the Russian army, but the Russian army will not protect those. It's up to the private companies to buy what? S-300, S-400, I don't know, Panzer S to put on the roof of their office building. So as for me, it's the complete nonsense, and it says a lot about the Russian army. And this is the satellite image of the facility that was damaged by the drone. So in Krasnodar, the only one reservoir was damaged. But in the Sevastopol base, you may see that there are many. So here are 6 and 4, as it was said by the Ukrainian intelligence at first. But as I said to you, those tanks also might not be in use because they were under the severe heat coming from those tanks. We have the new images of the Ukrainian Bradleys, and what is interesting, that the tactical signs are blurred over here. I've took it, by the way, from the Russian resource. I guess that there is the arrow and the name of the unit, or the number of the unit. You can see that you cannot identify them so far, but in future you'll see them for sure. About the weather, as you can see, the soil is getting drier, but not that much. Still, we have to use the tanks to dig out even the vehicles with caterpillars. For example, this is the engineering equipment that got stuck out there somewhere. Maybe on the south the weather is better. And still, I'm out of the information then this video was recorded. My friends, and now I want to say something more about the future counteroffensive. We're all waiting for it, because it's the only way out to win this war. Putin, unfortunately, is not willing to take his army out from Ukraine. So the only way is to cause the Russia military defeat, at least in Ukraine. But I want you to understand that even though it's the only variant, but it's not the best one. This time Russia is prepared They dig some trenches. Yes, they're in lack of resources, but they will be in defense. That means that they will lose 3 times less soldiers and 3 times less vehicles compared to Ukrainian side. We're gonna have lots of the losses. Our tanks will burn, including the Leopard 2 tanks. I'm sure that no one wants to lose their lives, but unfortunately it will be. It's the big tragedy of Ukraine and Ukrainian people. Putin wants just to stay in power as long as possible, and because of that, lots of the human lives are just wasted. But obviously from Ukrainian side we have something to fight for. That is what Russia doesn't have. I'm speaking about it because there are lots of the hype about the future Ukrainian counterattack. Yes, partially I am also participating in it on my channel. The main idea for me is to say it as it is. Sometimes we may see the video how the drone drops the bomb on the tank and tank explodes, but you are unaware that this tank was firing towards Ukrainian positions for a long time, causing the casualties. And many drones were unsuccessful to destroy the tank, and just one lucky bomb hit the target. Wow, good, everyone is satisfied, but the truth is that it's the hard job that cost lives. The same will be for the counterattack. You'll see lots of the flags, everyone will say, hooray Ukraine, you did it, but it's the very hard job that our forces will perform and perform successfully. Also with your awesome support, because without the proper weaponry, modern weaponry, there would be lots of the losses from the Ukrainian side. Many more compared to what it will be. So yes, let's stay positive, but let's keep in mind the price of the victory. Yeah, maybe I sound a little depressed, but it is the reality. My friends, now please press the like to this video, and also if you want to support my job, there are some links in the video description just below, and also you may support me on Patreon or on a sponsorship on this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your help and your awesome support. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.